So am I correct in assuming that I just gained 4 minutes, yes? The only person more long-winded than a Baptist minister is a unity minister. You know what it means when a unity minister looks at his watch, don't you? Absolutely nothing. But I have a bone to pick with Hal. You have never been concerned about offending me. I do have a very short time with you, and I want to make 2 very brief points. And the first point comes from that great sage and prophet from the far-off land of New York City, sometimes known as Broadway, Stephen Sondheim. By the way, I didn't want to follow that. Was that amazing or what? Careful the things you say. Children will listen. Careful the things you do. Children will see and learn. Children may not obey, but children will listen. Children will look to you for which way to turn, to learn what to be. Careful before you say, listen to me. Children are listening. Children are watching. Children are noticing, especially when we think that they are not paying attention. They are being taught every single moment about the foundational concepts of our religious belief systems by every thought, by every word, and most importantly, every action that we entertain when we think that nobody is looking. I know for a fact that my teaching is far more potent on the platform of my life than it will ever be from the lectern of my church. And that the only sacred scripture that some children will ever hear or read will be our lives. What are they learning? Cooperation or resistance? Acceptance or intolerance? Love or fear? Children are listening. Henry David Thoreau said, "Who you are thunders so loudly in my ears I cannot hear you." Perhaps we can teach by humbly examining, acknowledging, and then actively mending any incongruity between the compassion and the understanding that we teach from our lecterns and the actions that we take sometime between the lectures of the lectern. Let us feed the precious minds and hearts of our children by recognizing, owning, and actively healing any word or deed, past or present, that has laid waste to centuries of spiritual cooperation and wisdom. That self-examination is inevitably going to involve forgiveness at some level. A forgiveness of myself, a forgiveness of others, and perhaps at the deepest place, forgiveness of our religious histories. That act of forgiveness will teach more loudly, effectively, and efficiently than any Sunday school class ever has. Gandhi said, "Be the change you want to see in the world." Let us notice that he didn't say, teach the change that you want to see in the world, but be the change you want to see in the world. Perhaps we don't have to wait another generation to change the paradigm of our current culture. The second point is that perhaps we could spend a heck of a lot less time imparting knowledge to our children and a lot more time calling out the innate wisdom that already exists within them. I think our prayer this evening spoke loudly about that. Myrtle Fillmore, one of the co-founders of Unity, writes this: "Who meddles with the rosebud? What fingers are deft enough to pry open that marvel of folded beauty? We are wise enough to leave it alone, to follow the glad law of its own unfolding. But our children? Have we dealt as wisely with these buds of marvelous possibility? Have we remembered that they too must quicken and unfold through the innate law of their own genius? Sometimes our best teaching involves our ears and not our mouths. Questions and not answers will always open the greater portal for learning, and I believe the greater portal for God to be revealed. Let's ask our children, what do you think? What is the longing of your soul? Tell me about the God of your understanding. Tell me about your friends who believe differently than you. How are you finding commonality? How are you building bridges? And how are you tearing down walls? In my life, most children know a heck of a lot more about true, sincere love than the adults in my life who have experienced years of divisiveness and turned spiritual partnerships into passive indifference and, worse yet, mere tolerance. Tolerance is only a few short steps away from hatred. Let us as leaders, as teachers, as students, and as seekers be like the little girl who asked her mother if she could spend some time with her newborn baby sister. And the mother, from listening around the corner to listen, heard the little girl lean into the baby and say, "Tell me about God. I'm starting to forget. And I need you to help me remember." Perhaps we should listen. Perhaps we should listen. I wish you all a fantastic and wonderful Thanksgiving of gratitude, of teaching, of learning, and most importantly, listening.